unfair and untrue belief that many people have.
Welcome back, Yellowhammer Nation. We are live from the callks.com Heating and Air Studio. That music was beautiful and perfect for the headphone shuffle in studio.
Yes.
All the headphones are misplugged in different plugs, and we were scrambling to get them all plugged in the right place. We have guest in studio. Joining us right now with Fire Seeds, of course, is our friend Cord Sachs, who we had to turn away yesterday because of breaking news. And we apologize about that.
Oh, hey, you can't control the breaking news, can you?
I know you can't. And apparently it can't be controlled today because we started out with the first 15 minutes of conspiracy theories. It was interesting.
Yes, we did.
BJ Ellis, CEO of Yellowhammer News, is with us. And also we have Mr. Alton Hardy from Urban Hope in studio with us.
Good to be here.
Good to have you. Good to see you again, sir. How are you guys today?
We're doing well. Yellowhammer Nation, I'm just going to let you know, when you hear that violin song, that means that yours truly is in the studio coming to...
No. I don't just play it when you're here. I play it other times, too,
well,
so don't
okay,
do that.
Let's make that change then.
I can't do that because there's other shows that I play you, and I
You're
use
not
it
that
on them.
special.
Me and Big Dave are going to have a talk afterwards.
You got to get a new intro song.
No, that's my intro. I can't go with anything else unless you can come up with something better. Then we can.
What
talk
is it
about
called? It was
I
quite
don't know.
fancy. I like
It's a
it.
violin song, and I love it.
Oh,
It's black. It's black.
I bet you're going to
violin.
find out their
Black
fiddles,
violin.
but maybe not.
I'm digging
black
it.
violin.
I'm digging
Okay.
it. Well, we unfortunately yesterday did have the breaking news. Oh, I dig this too. This is great. We had the breaking news here on Yellowhammer Radio. As we covered in the first 15 minutes of the program, and we'll get back to that a little bit later on here on the show. But Pastor Alton Hardy is with us today. And I want to go over your bio because your bio is quite impressive. You're a native of rural Selma, Alabama. You spent 30 years in the cold northern city of Grand Rapids, Michigan. How great is it to be back in Alabama after being in Grand Rapids?
Hey, I love Alabama Roll Tides.
There you go. Those are the right words right there.
Nothing makes you appreciate it more than a good northern winter or two.
Yes.
So you and your lovely wife, Sandra, had the God's calling to relocate back to Birmingham and pursue a vision, which you're living out now, working in an urban ministry, right?
Yes.
And that urban ministry is Urban Hope.
Urban Hope Community Church.
Which Urban Hope Community Church, I think, is fantastic. The listeners might remember last Wednesday on the program, we had Brandon and Quintavious on who talked about Urban Hope, which those are just two fantastic guys who have a great vision that God has given them that they're working with right now. And so I want you to tell us a little bit more about Urban Hope. So what is the overall vision of Urban Hope Community Church and then the Urban Hope development?
Gotcha. I'd like to start off by saying this. God takes us a long way around. You can see my bio from Selma to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and now back here in the South. Urban Hope's vision, I've been studying and observing this for over 25 years. What's going on, what I call in the urban inner cities. It's a crisis. And pretty much Urban Hope Community Church is a movement. I really want to call it a movement. Basically, the agenda is to lead people out of a state of mind, spiritually, physically, mentally, into the place where they can be productive citizens here in the United States. That's really the heart of it. And so Urban Hope is a ministry that's been really birthed for this generation. And so I'm not a typical traditional leader. I truly believe that I was born for this particular generation to answer the social issues that are facing our inner cities. And living in Fairfield, that's where we are. So that's pretty much the heart and the call of Urban Hope Community Church.
It's interesting that I picked up on what you said. You said leading people out of a state of mind.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with physical movement. It's where you're at,
Yes.
changing the way you view things,
Yes.
the way what you believe, and the principles you live by. Is
Yes.
that be correct?
Yes.
That's
yes,
wonderful.
Yes.
Pastor Hardy, what demographic really reflects your main focus and target with Urban Hope?
Well, I usually get a lot of slack on this, but I think I got a good listening audience here today. Our main focus is men, young men in particular. We have a demographic between 18 and 35. And people say, well, no, why that demographic? Well, in any community, if you want to stabilize it, the first person you're going to really need to reach are your men. And in our broken urban communities, if you just go there and you just observe, the first thing you're going to notice right away is that what is happening to our men? What's happening to our families? And almost everywhere I go, we need mentors, we need fathers. And so for us, we're focusing on our young African-American men, and we're trying to raise them up, get them to be married, to become productive citizens, to become men who would take on the leadership of first loving their wives and their children, and et cetera. And so young men is bullseye for us. They're difficult because they can talk back, but that's our whole agenda, is to get young men. And right now that's happening. And that's how you met Brandon and Quatavius.
Right.
We're taking young men like that, and we're downloading, I'm a 50-year-old guy. We are downloading best practices, what it takes to bring about and restoring a community like Fairfield. And first line on the agenda, family. Mm-hmm. Why marriage is so important. And in the African American community, we have the lowest marriage rates, but it has not always been that way. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about that later. But that's the main agenda, is to restore our young men back to a blueprint that actually stabilizes a community like a Fairfield and other inner cities communities around America.
Our guest on Yellowhammer Radio is Pastor Alton Hardy, also chord sax with Fire Seeds. And Pastor Hardy, I want to ask you, why is it important that a ministry like Urban Hope exists in cities and communities like Fairfield?
Urban Hope, in my estimation, was called into being at this appointed time. Mm-hmm. If you just go from California to New York City, even here in Birmingham, and we can all see it, and we can just speak frankly about it, we have some serious issues facing our inner cities. So Urban Hope is a ministry that has been brought into existence to address a particular demographic, which is what I call the social chaos, which I think has been brought on from the last 60 years. It started in the 1960s, and we have just went off a cliff, seemingly here in the last just 10 years. Mm-hmm. And so it exists because I'm a leader for the time. I'm speaking to this demographic, and I'm not shying away from it. And so I think Urban Hope is a ministry that God in his providence has brought at this appointed time to address the social issues facing our inner cities. And we need more ministries like this.
Absolutely. Our guest on Yellowhammer Radio, Pastor Alton Hardy with Urban Hope Community Church, also chord sax with Fire Seeds, BJ Ellis with YellowhammerNews.com. Andrea Tyson and I will be right back. More with Pastor Hardy and chord sax as well. Jay Holland's got a look at news next on the Yellowhammer News Radio Network. We are live from the callks.com. Heating and Air Studio, Alabama license number 11120.
Every tear from the eye. Yes, sir. Get ready for the revolution. Come on. What you say? Do you want a revolution? Say, do you want a revolution? Come on.
Welcome back, Yellowhammer Nation. It's 866-551-9933. On Twitter at YHRadio. Get in touch with the program. I am Scott Chambers.
Andrea Tice here as well. And we have in with us 3 different distinguished guests. Our
Yes,
boss,
we do.
BJ, and chord sax from Fire Seeds, as well as Pastor Alton Hardy from Urban Hope Community Church. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you.
And as the song said, you're starting a revolution down in Fairfield, or at least that's your goal. Yeah.
Trying to. You know, it's funny, as a kid, I had this kind of, open vision or something like that I was going to be a part of some kind of a movement. Coming from Selma, I stuttered. I mean, I didn't have this confidence that I have now. And so to be back in the South and to be doing the work that God has me doing right now is just nothing short of a miracle, because I know I wouldn't do it in my natural self. And so it really, I call Urban Hope, it's a movement. And so, which leads me to this question, people say, well, Pastor, what are you saying you're trying to do? I think leaders are born. There's a great book that I read, Harold Reed's, called really defines what leadership is. Leaders answer the solution or the problem of the day, or the crisis of the day. And if you look across our inner cities, guys, I'm just a guy that said, look, we are going to address these social issues and crises facing urban inner cities. Before I came here to Birmingham, I was almost being recruited to go to Chicago and Detroit. And so in God's timing, I landed back in Birmingham. And so leaders, that's what they do. They answer the problems of the day. And we are trying to answer a problem that's facing our inner cities like we've never seen before. And so I thank God for that. So
Now, you mentioned earlier, and you made no apology for it, that you are targeting a certain demographic.
Yes.
As gender, a
Yes.
certain gender, men,
Yes.
and within a certain age group, and your goal is to develop leaders. So with those two factors, what are you finding is the problem that, could you name the main problem that needs to be addressed in these young men's lives?
Wow, that's a great question. I would say in our community, well, the rates are about 72%, and depending on what community you're in, it can go up as much as 95%, what I call a fatherless generation.
Mm-hmm.
As a pastor, pretty much, in the young men that you met, most of what I do the first 3-4 years is really downloading fatherhood and really creating an environment to really teaching young men what it's like to have what I call, because fathers give authority. And a lot of the young men in our communities, they've never seen proper authority. They've never seen it. And so, and when you don't understand authority, you really don't understand who God is, because God is authority. He's the ultimate authority.
Yes,
and
he
so
is,
when
yeah.
we're running into fatherlessness, you look at all the social accounts, it leads to all of your social ills. It's the number one situation. This is why we go after marriage and family.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you solve fatherlessness? The only way I know, somebody got to jump the broom.
Yeah, right?
Somebody's got to stay committed to a wife and to a mother until death do them apart. Other words, we're just going to keep talking about this. And right now, in my community, we're at 72%, and in some communities, it's even higher. And so fatherlessness is the driving social issue in our community, which leads to dropout in school, drug addictions. I tell people, you just go look at the government statistics on this. 85% of young men with no father at home seem like they leave the huddle and run straight to the prison. Why is that?
Yeah. So you're not even addressing bad fathering. You're addressing a void of fathers. So you're almost introducing a new voice in their lives that I would imagine there would be conflict, that they're not used to that. To hear a man's voice say and provide authority.
Yes.
That's got to be some challenge there.
Almost every guy that I have encountered in 5 years being here in Birmingham, out of the about 85% have told me, I want to let you know right away, I have a problem with men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm sure. At least they're recognizing it up front.
Yes.
And wow.
Our guest is Pastor Alton Hardy with the Urban Hope Community Church and Urban Hope Development. Also in studio with us is BJ Ellis, who is CEO of YellowhammerNews.com, a former college basketball coach. BJ, you've been in these neighborhoods and you've seen firsthand what life is like for some of these kids coming out of these neighborhoods through, I guess, your recruitment and things like that.
Sure. Yeah. And this is something that's special to me, and this is the one part. I love Yellowhammer. I love what I do. God bless me and put me in this situation for a reason and at the perfect time. But the one thing that I miss is being able to influence a kid's life. And we were also the authority figure when they didn't want to go to class, when they didn't want to make it into curfew. And you know, the thing is, and I said this off the air, we all live in Birmingham. Well, Huntsville, Coleman, wherever you're listening to. The part of Birmingham where he works is so different than, unless you've been there as a listener, you can't even understand the way that people think. The way what's normal is not normal. Not that there's one bad or one right, and I'm very sensitive to that. But I've been in places where, in Houston, when the AAU coach said, "You know you a white boy, right?" And he said, "If something happens, the police ain't coming in here."
Wow.
I'm like, ain't nothing going to happen. And, you know, they's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to get one of the guys out of here so he can make something of his life. All gone, coach, you good.
Wow.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yes.
But it's just so different, and God has laid it on my heart to get involved somehow. I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't know what we're going to do. But me and Cliff always prayed every day that God would use the platform that he has given us in Yellowhammer, not to make money, not to have political influence, but to use it to change people's lives and hearts, because the ultimate point of all of this is somebody's going to spend eternity in heaven or hell.
That's right.
Yes.
No matter who you vote for, no matter which way you lean, you're going to spend eternity in heaven and hell, and it's just such a huge need that he's meeting right now, and I couldn't be more supportive of what he's doing, and we're going to figure out how to get involved collectively in what they're doing.
It's amazing what they are doing.
So maybe I'll address this to Pastor, but how can the listening audience here, our Yellowhammer Nation, support the ongoing work of Urban Hope and what's going on in Fairfield?
It's a great question. Well, right now, and to follow with BJ, we're building a Urban Hope Training Center. Basically, one of the things that we do, and this is where fire seeds come in. Well, working in inner cities like this, one of the first things, I run into this all the time. Guys are always looking for work. The problem with it is most of them don't know how to work because fatherlessness produces a whole lot of social issues that doesn't get repaired just by osmosis. So
right.
I've gotten guys jobs, and they get fired the first day. They don't know how to go on time. They don't know how, and like I said, I'm working with a pretty poor demographic, those who have been left behind. And so one of the things, we're building an Urban Hope Training Center. Well, it's in Fairfield, working with Max's Construction, and they designed the building. It was $900,000. Well, somebody said, why are you trying to build a building like that in Fairfield? Well, didn't get a lot of bites. And then we dropped it to $700,000 because we put in a culinary kitchen in there because we want to train guys and pay them. And then we dropped the price again. Now it's down to like $600,000. We're trying to raise money for this Urban Hope Training Center. 3 things are going to happen. Pastor Hardy is going to teach, preach, and exhort and disciple young men in what I think is the greatest thing, which is in the image of God. Who are you? That's my story. Fatherless, but without knowing why you're here and why you exist, you can't do anything. Second thing, we're going to teach them work ethic. We're going to do that over a 2-year span, 18 months. And then the third thing, which is going to do, how do we restore our communities? We're going to teach them about the marriage principles. And hopefully, by God willing, lead these young men into what I call in marriage situations. So we're trying to raise money for this building to bring these guys in. They will go through, we're using culinary just to hold them. So we can disciple them because most of them are in transient situations. So we need housing. And so we're just trying to answer the call of our day and our time. And so one of the ways y'all can help us, we're trying to, we actually need, this building should be being built right now, but because of lack of funds. And so that's one of the reasons why I called Corey. I said, Corey, I need a miracle. And this is really the truth of the matter. I called him last week. I said, Corey, I need a miracle. And somehow, one day and another, he mentioned BJ. Oh, I think I need to go on that radio show. So here I am.
Here you are. Let's put a website or a contact point out there for people who are listening who may want to provide some donations. That would be awesome to raise money.
www.urbanhopecc.com. If you go in there, we got a building fund. You can just go in there. You can give online. If you don't want to give online, you want to send us a check, you can send it to Urban Hope Community Church, P.O. Box 53, Fairfield, Alabama, 35064.
All right, that's urbanhopecc.com.
Yes.
Okay, that's wonderful, and I know we have a lot of people listening that will respond because that's the way they are.
Absolutely. Our guest pastor, Alton Hardy, Urban Hope Community Church, and you mentioned there a moment ago where you called Cord last week and said you needed a miracle. It's kind of weird how things start rolling and start working because a week ago today, Brandon and Quintavious were on the air because I had met them 2 weeks ago over pizza one night at a Yellowhammer News night at the range. So it's amazing how all of those gears start turning, and
that is.
Everything happens for a reason there.
Yes.
That's really interesting.
Yes.
I find that very interesting.
Very interesting.
So our guest is Pastor Alton Hardy, Urban Hope Community Church, also Cord Sachs with Fire Seeds, Yellowhammer News CEO BJ Ellis. We're going to come back after a short break, and we'd love to hear your phone calls. If you want to call in and talk about Urban Hope for Pastor Hardy or with Cord or BJ, 866-551-9933. We can answer any of your questions, and you can also call in and get some information if you would like to donate. We are live from the callks.com Heating and Air Studio, Alabama license number 11120.
This is Yellowhammer Radio.
Welcome back to Yellowhammer Radio. 3 great ways to hear this program. Superstation 101 WYDE, 95.3 FM, 1260 AM. You can also listen to the program on numerous apps like TuneIn, and you can also download the Superstation 101 app. Just go to the App Store, do a search for WYDE Superstation 101. Take that app with you anywhere. You can listen to Yellowhammer Radio, all of your favorite Superstation shows. And on the TuneIn app, you can actually go back and listen in delay to previous shows throughout the day. So if you miss some Yellowhammer, go grab it later on in the day. Kind of cool stuff right there. As we come back, our guest is Pastor Alton Hardy with Urban Hope Community Church. Cord Sachs with Fire Seeds, who joins us each and every Tuesday. Cord, good seeing you in studio, man.
No, it's good to be
We
here.
always talk to you on the phone, but it's so good to have you in person, man.
Well, hey, this is a lot more fun. You know, there are leaders that talk about leadership. They write
Right.
the books. They come on shows like this. And then there are leaders that are in the trenches, and they are building and pouring and investing in to building leaders.
Absolutely.
And that's why I just get to be the bystander here and kind of position Alton in this environment so that more people can understand this is what we need. I mean, we need leaders that will invest in the trenches to build other leaders, and without that, there's no movement.
Well,
No question.
Cord, I'm kind of curious. How did you first meet up with Alton, and how did that relationship develop with Fire Seeds and all of that?
Well, there is a partnership with our church, with First Oak Mountain Pres,
Okay.
and Urban Hope, and so I was over in Fairfield with our church, just helping with one of their projects they were working on over Thanksgiving, and just got to meet Alton. And what I was so blown away with is that when I had my conversation with him, he was sharing the vision for what's going on. My son was standing right next to me. And my son, 15-year-old son, was so blown away at the vision. I mean, I was just riding over and dropping him off at work today, and he's like, "Dad, we got to get back over to Fairfield and get back with Alton and just kind of help find a way that we can
Right.
get back over there in that community." And so, when you see this kind of movement and you experience it, and that's what BJ said earlier. If we can go and see and be a part and just get a taste of it, you'll want more. You'll want to be a part of something that is radically changing lives in our backyard, 20 minutes away from where most of us live, that we have no idea there's an opportunity to serve and to give and have an impact.
That's fantastic. Pastor Hardy, you mentioned earlier fatherlessness is a problem.
Yes.
Off air, we were talking. You actually know 2 people that saw their first wedding the other day?
Yeah. Yeah.
First time they had ever seen a wedding in their life.
You did the wedding.
I did the wedding.
You performed the ceremony.
We
Wow.
had church, and then we performed the wedding afterwards.
But they had never seen a wedding other than, I guess, television or something like that.
Yeah. Well, this is what happens in communities like this. Just family marriage just goes out the window. And so the young man, we were pursuing him for about 3.5 years, a typical young man in the inner city of Fairfield. And, we got him a job. That's what we do. Getting guys jobs is crucial to what we do. We partner with another agency, nonprofit called Clear Story. And so they help us. You'll see them on the website working with us in this Urban Hope Training Center, Clear Story, Inc. And so this young man got a job. And, and this is where you need to do this thing, both what I call word and deed. I'm a guy on the ground, but I have my Bible with me. I am not trying to restore Fairfield without the Word of God. So I teach it, I preach it, I challenge young men to because I believe that's where God's favor and His grace is in His blueprint. So make a long story short, 3.5 years. That's why we want this Urban Hope Training Center, because it takes just day in, day out of trying to undo generation of just what I call dysfunctionality.
Yeah.
So make a long story short, he wanted to get married. He brought a young lady to our church. And this has been about 4 months ago, guys. I'm preaching. I go after sexual immorality. God's not clapping his hand every time we see a shackle. I mean, I just say it in the language. I know the context. And I meet with her the next week. They're doing marriage counseling. And, the young lady, and I said, you ever heard of sexual immorality? She's like, no, I never heard it until I heard you preaching it. I said, huh?
Wow.
I said, you never heard of that? I said, your teacher didn't tell you that? I said, the lady down at the social service office didn't bring that up to you, that you shouldn't be. She said, no, I never heard of that before. And she said, if I would have, I wouldn't have these 2 children. And she started crying.
Wow.
Make a long story short, I give them the marriage counseling and say, hey, I would like for you to abstain from this lifestyle. I know y'all guys are living together,
Sure.
whatever. And last 2 weeks ago, she calls me on a Friday morning, and I was just being snobbish, thinking that, well, I know you guys are living together already. You're kind of messing around. And she said, oh, no, Pastor. Ever since you told me that, he has not touched me. I dropped my phone. I said, what in the world? I said, the word does work.
Right.
Go into all the world and teach them to observe his commandments. She said, I have not touched him. She said, I'm saving myself. And 2 weeks ago, on Father's Day, we had probably one of the most best highlight service we have ever had at Urban Hope Community Church. In fact, I was telling Court, during the prayer time, we just had a wailing time. Our church is mainly fatherless, and the guy that was leading the prayer is a fatherless guy. And something just happened in the church because we got an epidemic in our community. And I think God Almighty just said, you know, I'm just going to come down today and just touch him a little bit.
Yeah.
And man, all the young men started weeping.
Wow.
And so last week we performed that wedding, and they had all their friends there. And the lady, she was taking too long to get ready. I said, well, I might as well just step on into the story. And I just started preaching about marriage. And now from that marriage, right now on my calendar, about 7 marriages is coming out of that one.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
It's amazing what just the visual, for them to see
Yes.
that performed in front of them, and the thought, the idea, the concept being played out
Yes.
right there. That's awesome. What a great story.
So God, it's just crazy how that's happening. God is from that young man getting married, him and that young lady who had never witnessed a man, had never been to a wedding, and now their friends are all wanting to get married. And I knew this going into it. If we preach it and teach it, now we have some opposition. I was talking to Court about this yesterday. Guys, in our community, big government has been the greatest impediment to what's happening to these inner cities.
Why would they be opposing this? Why would there be opposition to this?
I don't know if I have enough time to talk about it.
You got time. Go ahead.
My mind is blown as to why there would be opposition to this.
See, when my mother was on welfare, I'm from Selma. I was living in Louisville, and I did. This stuff is happening to you. Nobody sat me down, but I remember the little white lady used to come out, knock on the door, and come check all the bedrooms, and she was checking to see was Mr. Hardy there. In order for my mom to get that ADC, it's called ADC then, ADCF check or something like that. And in other words, what they're basically saying, you can only get money from the federal government if someone who, in my estimation, according to the Bible, is the most important person in the family, which is the father. If he's here, you can't get any money. And she would go through all the house, look underneath the bed, and check to make sure he wasn't there. What we see, how do you get Section 8 housing? Can't be married. Can't be a family. How you get all these government resources? Can't be married.
It's the big government actively neutralizing men,
Yes.
taking its place.
Yes.
It's a shame. It's a crime. It's the bane of our society right now. Is the building block of a man and a woman is being decimated through government programs.
Yes. And then the same government turns around and give us the social stats of what happens when kids grow up without their fathers in the home.
Right.
Right.
And this is what I started observing 20 years ago. I said, man, what in the world is going on? This is why I say Urban Hope is a ministry that understands what's really happening. Right. And so we're raising up leaders going to these college campuses, and we're showing and telling guys, you got to be the voice of reason to counteract this kind of deception that is happening in our communities. God is the architect of human life. God is to say husband and wife is his agenda. Now, I'm not going to get no help from the big government. See, that's why our vision is leading people out of Egypt into the promised land of freedom. We call the government Pharaoh.
Yes.
Pharaoh want to let the people go.
You're
now,
right.
Pharaoh want to keep them. Now, how is he going to get them back into bondage? Well, if you read Numbers chapter 11, I never forget when I read this verse. It's what's really what my ministry is based upon, Numbers chapter 11, verses 4 and 5. It says the people was groaning there, complaining, they're crying. It says, let us go back to Egypt. Why you want to go back to Egypt? It's bondage. Pharaoh kills your sons. All you got to do, look around the inner cities. Look in the projects.
Right.
Who's dying?
Right.
Black men, black males. All right, go to Chicago. If I was preaching this in Chicago, they'd be like, amen, amen. We're just looking around.
Right.
Well, why you want to come back to Egypt? Well, the Bible they say, because we remember all of the free. Man, Scott, when I saw that, I didn't get this with no commentary. I said, oh, my God, this is it right here. We remember all the free stuff, the leeks, the onions, the garlic, and the watermelon. Now, I'm a preacher. You got to contemporarize that. What's that mean for today?
Right.
Come back to Egypt. Come back to the project. Come back to bunch. I don't want you doing the promised land. I don't want you living for God. I don't want you getting married. I don't want you walking with God.
Don't rise above.
Yes.
Yeah, don't rise above. That's kind of the way it works.
So we're discipling
But you're
people
working
out of that.
to help people rise above.
Yes.
Fascinating.
But
Through the word of God.
in God's
Amen.
way,
Yes.
not the government way.
Not the government's way.
Exactly right. That's boy, that gets me on fire.
Our
great.
guest has been Pastor Alton Hardy and also Cord Sachs with Fire Seeds. BJ Ellis, CEO of YellowHammerNews.com. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having all of you in today. Fascinating topic.
Fired up. I mean, I'm
I'm fired up as well.
So you guys got me preaching here.
That's right.
And if people want to get in touch, once again, you guys are inside Church of the Reconcilers, is that
Yes.
right? And that's located at 4607 Gary Avenue in Fairfield. Website is urbanhopecc.com. Pastor Alton Hardy, Cord Sachs, BJ Ellis. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Good having you with
Pleasure.
us. Jay Allen's got news. We're back next for Hour 2.